Welcome to World Unity Week. We are in the Temple of the Rising Feminine, and we are here with my beloved sister, Elena Brower, yogi extraordinaire, and so many other sweet flowers in her field, her offerings for life. I'm super excited to be here with you, Elena. And how are you this fine day?
I'm well. I had the great fortune, if you can imagine, after many, many years of yoga and meditation, I had the great fortune of learning how to safely handle a firearm this week. And it was one of the most empowering things I've ever done. And I feel, in fact, more feminine than ever as a result. So fascinating. And so I'm still processing that. The range day was 2 days ago, and yesterday was more of the sort of legal implications of everything, living in an open carry state, and do I want to do this to protect my family, those sorts of things. What a litany of inquiries I'm in right now. So that's where I am. Right now I live in the mountains. You know, it feels important to be able to protect myself and my family were something to happen. Fascinating time.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And I had just finished the parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, which sort of prompted and affirmed all of these choices. If you haven't read the book, I would strongly recommend it. It's very timely, written by an incredible Black author who's now passed away several years ago, who predicted this sort of apocalyptic sensation that we're all feeling in some way. And instead of, I really felt like I was languishing for a certain period of time, like just dejected, like, okay, I'm here, I'm safe for now, but then, you know, who knows what will happen. I'm just sort of at the mercy of everything. And I wanted not to feel that way, you know. So this is one of the things. The other, the polar opposite is a lot of creativity. Even I was just finishing washi taping my date book.
Whoa, you know? Look at you.
Yeah. So you're,
love it.
You know, if you were sort of put off by my first inquiry that's current and top of mind for me, just know you're dealing with the dorkiest sort of artist of all time, struggling with having that part of me be educated and empowered.
Respect, sister. Respect.
Merci.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm going to put myself on here to see if I can do that. Oh, that's you. I'm getting used to this wonderful machine here. I'm going to go back to gallery.
I have a lot of tech.
You have what? What did you say?
A lot of respect for technology. So
yeah.
The more time we take with it, the easier we are with ourselves, the better.
Exactly. And the better it flows.
Yes.
I think it goes automatically when I keep it on speaker. However, I'm just flowing with this. You know, Elena, this is a great theme to step into our meeting with. I really do feel. Because we cannot ignore it, and we should not, right?
No. And as my teacher says, who's a former Marine and a darling teddy bear of a guy who's been on like 6 tours of duty, too many of the destroyers are armed. So why don't we educatedly arm the protectors? Which I thought was interesting. And in fact, the entire class, which is called the Snow Leopards.
Snow Leopards.
It's a class of women.
Okay.
And it's sponsored by a very generous man who remains anonymous twice a year. Trains women, a group of 5 to 10 women in handling a firearm over the course of 15 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, weird. I know, it's so weird.
I don't know. It is weird in a way if you take it at a first look, but in a whole nother way, it's something completely else. So in my backdrop with this is, you know, I come from a military family.
You do? I didn't know.
I do. My father's in the U.S. Air Force. Wow. His older brother, U.S. Air Force recon. 3 tours in Vietnam,
Oh
cousins
God.
who've been decorated in Korea, and my English grandfather, pilot in WW2, definitely traumatized from that, and my husband's grandfather, German WW2 also. So there's a long lineage.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
And,
incredible.
and
So
that's in your body too, like
that's
just
in my
the
body.
same way the concentration camps are in my Jewish body. Wow.
Yes. And my son spoke on this. My son Jivan spoke on this during our trip to the Holy Land last year with Unity Earth. A big shout out for Unity Earth and this whole creation of World Unity Week. Thank you so much. And he read the peace treaty with Chief Phil Lane Deer. And what I want to say is my sons had an interest in experiencing this, had an interest in experiencing firearms.
Yeah.
So we're just calling on the warrioress right now because we have a whole lineage of the warrioress, and it's about across the board one of the most powerful archetypes for women. And across the board, the warrioress has everything to do with not only handling her weapons, but handling her soul, handling her decisions, and focusing in a way that will help herself and her tribe and her people come over the hurdles they need to come over when it is time to do so. So when I was at the shooting range with my sons 2 weeks ago, and
Wow.
last time we were here, they were like, "Mom, come on, you have to shoot. You have to shoot."
Yes.
And I was like, okay, you know. And it first was, interestingly enough, it first was, I'm gonna destroy the name, so I'm not even gonna try to name the weapon. However, it was a handgun,
Yep.
and I could cock it when I was down in the room with the teacher. Um, okay, I could cock it. However, when I was on the shooting range with a live bullet in the chamber, I could not.
You mean, was it a semi-automatic where you have to rack
Yeah, you had to
live?
rack it back.
Yeah.
And that was somehow energetically something was not possible for me. And I was watching that.
It's a lot.
And the first time I actually shot, I just really cried. I cried for the whole of humanity. You know, it was like, what are we doing with these things? And on the other hand, thank you that you were there,
Yeah.
you know. Um, because of obviously these bigger weapons have prevented us from really destroying each other. And we need to look at and understand the bigger picture of that. Here come the grandmothers. They probably want to tell us about pick up your bows and arrows, ladies, you know.
They definitely do. It's funny. He said, my teacher said, I'm going to teach you all of this. And at the end of the 15 hours, he said, but the most important thing you can do is de-escalate it before you have to use your weapon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
interesting. It makes me much more committed. Like the meditations I've had since that day, the 2 days that I've been since that day, have been very deep. The dream that I had last night even was I was in some sort of trouble and I did the wrong thing, which was the man, whoever was chasing me, retreated and I went after him, which you're not supposed to do. All the police, like disable, disarm, or kill, and then call the police. Do not
Engage.
do not engage, do not go closer.
Mhm.
And that's a whole conversation in and of itself too. Our police in this country are not trained more than 3 months. There are many of them children, and calling them often makes things worse. I am very close with the gal in Miami who started Ripple Effect MIA on Instagram. And she has taught me, she's a very, very close friend of mine. And she's taught me that actually she goes and trains the whole community down there in Miami and Indian Beach, I forget the name, to tie tourniquets, to stop bleeding. She teaches them to do CPR, all the things that one might be inspired to call the police for.
It's about self-empowerment.
Because in a Black community, you can't call the fucking police. You know what I mean? Like that's the last thing you want to do, actually.
Right.
So this is a much bigger conversation, and the onion needs to be peeled in a very careful way, because I am not
Absolutely.
a professional about this at all. What I do know is that it feels good to know how to handle, that sort of a thing. And it feels good to continue to educate myself on what is actually happening in the world, and the suffering of certain communities around all of this enforcement. I think the conversation is far beyond this particular realm right now, but I'm very passionate about it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I do know a little bit of a backstory about Elena and what she has immersed herself in since the horrible
Murder.
murder, yeah, of George Floyd. And she went for it. And she spent the next 6 months intensely educating herself, speaking with people, giving them a space to speak in her networks. And wow, respect. It means a lot. And I myself have been in rooms, many Zoom rooms, where I'm the only person of color creating, and realizing the lack of a feeling in a sensual way, and also an intellectual sense way, just the lack of understanding in the room, in the moment. And when you ask for it, when you actually have the courage to speak up as a person of color, and then you get this sort of deadpan response, and you're like, okay, consciousness is not living here about this subject, and it hurts.
No,
It hurts.
It hurts.
Yeah.
Period.
Thank you so much for that work. And if I were to weave that into the work of a yogi, right? Who's bringing spirit through the body, through the body temple. How is that grown your practice through really taking responsibility and putting yourself really in that seat? Could you elaborate on that?
I lost a lot of white friends and followers for this. When I started to learn, I'm embarrassed to say, my public school education was very paltry. In this area, we sort of glossed over slavery. We glossed over the Emancipation Proclamation. We glossed over almost everything that happened from Europe to the US in those times. And upon learning all of it, I just started reading everything I could. I started talking to every single Black author who would come near me, and figuring out. And I don't see myself as an educator on the Black experience. I see myself as an educator on whiteness. And I want to get these fucking white people to understand how important it is to educate themselves and not stop now that all that has passed and Derek is behind bars. It's not over. It's never going to. It's not over in our lifetime. And this is now a big part of my focus. Like, I am never going to stop amplifying the voices of my Black friends and colleagues. I'm never going to stop learning from them. I'm never going to stop being sad about all the Black and brown bodies in prison. Never. And I found an organization that I'm now going to be directing a lot of my resources to, which is called On the Inside, working with incarcerated women, creating opportunities for them to create theater, art, and books that are co-created with women on the outside. All of these things are extremely important to me, and I feel very much, in my opinion, very much a part of the white feminine experience. If we are to land on our deathbeds, and I'm not saying you have to agree with me, white women, But if we're going to land on our deathbeds, and if I'm going to land on my deathbed and feel like I've done a full job with my privilege and my place, this is something that I will continue to focus on.
Ahe. Ashe.
Right.
Bless. Oyane. Ooh, gave me some chills, sister.
It's really important.
It is important.
I make fun sometimes of white people. I say, you know, white people, like, why don't you understand? Just take 5 minutes to read on this particular time in history. 5 minutes it will take you. And I make fun sometimes, but I'm not making light.
Yeah, there you go. We need that humor.
Yeah.
We need that humor.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Really, I'm feeling this moment. We're taking a 30-second feeling break to feel this moment in honor of all of our fallen sisters and brothers. Oyate. Black to brown, to all. Ui, anekiate. We are one earth and one people. Ui, ate. And it's time we started acting like it. Really, you know. I learned that early, being a person of so mixed race, everything. I think I have almost everything in my pot. Bless. Oyane. And my frustration comes with in my shaman line. I feel the blood of my ancestors on the earth, in my Native American and African American to Africa lines. And also my English, Irish, you know, my priestess lines where the women were laid on the earth, you know. So we all have these sort of pasts. I don't think anyone who's living on the planet right now is immune to that. Maybe a few. And what gets me sometimes is that, and this is no glorification of myself. I feel it's normal for me to want to work towards unity. You know, it's normal for me to give 30 hours, 40 hours of my time. The compensation is to see it evolve and to be a part of it for World Unity Week or the Up Convergence or any other not-for-profit work I've done. And, you know, we have to work for peace. Yeah. Just like Gil Scott-Heron said. And I ask sometimes some of the sisters in the network or whosoever, just, if you can't show up, that's all good. Can you share? Can you just please spend 10 minutes a day and share these wonderful offers, these events that your sisters are spending time and energy on? Because it's for all of us, you know. Each drop of pure consciousness in that well. Here's my mom calling me. Sorry, mommy. Of course, she would be feeling that, right? It's going to create that ocean. It's going to create that ocean. And as someone who walks as shaman, I never asked for that job. You know, it just came along, and one day the ancestors said, you either accept it or life's going to get more difficult for you. I'm like, okay, I love you. I'm here. It's all good. And the shaman work is, it's serious stuff sometimes. It's really serious, and it's difficult because you're often digging deep down in that well. But it's not unfunny. It's not unfunny. The shaman sense of humor is wicked. It's wicked and it can be fun. I have a couple of my students are here. They're like, mm-hmm. She can't be wicked with her humor. Because it's medicine, right? It's a medicine that's very important. And one of the reasons I did want to speak with you, because of your knowledge and because of your realness, I really appreciate how real you are, right?
It
As much
costs
as
me
I know
sometimes.
you, huh?
It costs me sometimes, but I'm okay with that.
I understand that one. I have something similar. You know, I'm I'm not calling her back. It's okay. Go your way. It's all good. Um, I perceive, correct me if I'm wrong, that yoga and shamanism come from the same branch or kind of complementary trees, or the branch on trees. Let's put it that way.
It's
And from my research, and my man's a big yogi, so
yeah.
we often talk about that. I would love to bridge that. I would love to ask you that question and bridge that with what's happening presently on our planet with female spirituality and how the yoga and the shamanism, I see it merging more and more. What would you speak to that?
Okay. In my understanding of shamanism, the shaman has actually become the sort of pathway between whatever needs to happen and what is currently happening. The shaman is sort of, I don't want to use the word conduit because that feels limiting, but the pathway, the channel, whatever it is, you become that so that the energy can pass through from one place to the next. That's one understanding that I have.
We could do that, yeah. Feel you.
In yoga, I think what we're always trying to accomplish is to become empty enough to approximate that experience of being able to allow energy to flow in and out very expeditiously and efficiently. So they're not dissimilar. Definitely not the same. It's a totally different, obviously, totally different training. You have had a lifetime, many lifetimes of training here. I have 20, 30 years. It's not that much. I'm only 50 years old yet. So I don't feel like I'm anywhere near that level of proficiency. But that is the aim, I think, is to create a body that is kind of silent enough and quiet enough and empty enough to be able to feel what's needed and ascertain what's next.
What's coming. Wow. Bless.
The ultimate in both is this evolutionary sort of leaning toward compassion, like super. If you could take compassion and just like blanket the earth with that word and really hold the meaning of that word in one breath. I think both are leaning evolutionarily in that direction. Like, how can I feel the feeling of that tree in front of me? Like, how can I actually feel that tree in my body?
Please feel the tree. Please, I'm begging sometimes. Feel the tree, feel the waters. I felt a lot as I felt my spirit working with this hour that we have, and I felt many times the water come to us. Yes. And even as I say this, I feel emotion rising in my body. Do you all feel that too? Oh, and I feel the waters calling us women us birth givers. And I just have so much respect for what yoga has brought to our world, really, because the shaman way is pretty intense. And you're right when you say I've had lifetimes here. I'm just continuing with this way. But it's difficult for many people to open that box because it is intense. It looks different sometimes. It looks really different. When I'm on the medicine wheel and all of a sudden spirit turns me upside down, just just to learn something. First you're crying, then you start laughing. You go, oh, okay, thank you for that teaching.
The hope is that you start laughing after you've been crying.
Yeah, that comes from the deep trust of having many experiences that are out of your box, right? Yet, what yoga has brought very quickly in the last 50 years, it's incredible how it has brought so much peace and calm and meaning to people's lives, to especially women. And I think we're at really, I look at yoga sometimes and I'm like, oh wow, I think yoga's peaked. There's so many women doing yoga and men, of course. And then I look again and there's a whole nother wave of consciousness for yoga. And I'm like, yes, wonderful.
This pandemic of all things has taught us that the way in which we practice we used to go to studios and that's coming back to some degree, but all of that changed. And so everybody started having a home practice by necessity. Even if you were practicing with your, favorite teacher online, you were at home. That's ultimately the whole sort of historically, the whole purpose of yoga. It's a household practice. It's you wake up, you move your body in these certain ways, it prepares you for meditation. Punto. So it kind of came back in some really funny way.
Right?
To the roots of it.
Interesting.
I know. Wild.
I would give a shout out right now. I'm just tracking our time a bit. To some of the yogis that are in the room right now about that particular subject. Would you like to say something to that? How yoga came home?
Yeah, I think in its essence, yoga is a practice. It's not about going to some place with a whole bunch of other people and, being kind of on display. It's a very personal, intimate practice. And I dare say after 24 years during this pandemic, I've finally understood that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think if you can embrace that, even if you do go back to the studio, I'm not going to begrudge that. I'll go teach at a studio eventually, not until next year, I don't think, but
look at her.
I'm enjoying so much. Just being at home.
Understand you.
Oh my God. But I really feel this is a time to celebrate your connection to yourself as necessitated by these weird times.
Bless.
Yeah.
I would hawk that out too. And I would add some salt in the soup by saying also our connection with nature.
Yes.
Yeah, because this connection to ourselves is nature, right? This is nature, number one. And sometimes we get closer to that nature by being, closer to this nature, perhaps. Yeah. And I see this happening too. Many of us going into the nature and appreciating it in another way, in a deeper way, in a more feeling way, a more vibrational way. And yes, please continue to inform yourselves with nature's vibration. And she is speaking all the time to us, and she's one of our most incredible teachers. Yes, she loves to feel our love and our appreciation.
So true.
Yes, so when you see that tree, compliment that tree. Oh, my darling, you are splendid, you know. She loves all those wonderful compliments and feeling our heart next to hers. There was a time our ancestors had a very deep, resonant experience with nature because they had to survive, right? And not only because they had to survive, but it's sort of the way we're made. We're created in that way. And so the earth is kind of waiting for us to return to that vibration of interaction with her and ceremonially. So for me, moving the body like in yoga is a ceremony. It's a deep personal ceremony to oneself. And then taking that out into nature, and after yoga, meditating as you walk through the garden, as you perceive, it's this perception of nature through those eyes of a body that has been truly grounded at its root is something quite different, isn't it? I mean, everyone here must have experienced that. Wow. That's, I feel, the world we're moving towards in a really big way at the moment. We have a lot of cool people jumping on. Oh, blessings. Blessings. So what about a couple of you yogis that are listening right now? Let's do a question or two, or a comment. I know 3 or 4 of the sisters here, and I know that they're yogis also. Do you have something that you feel the impulse of sharing, or asking Elena, or asking Mira, or asking Universe? Are you enjoying the flow?
Anything at all, really. I'm happy to answer as well.
Can you, Jeannie, you want to come in? You have to unmute.
Oh, I can unmute myself. Good to see you, Mira.
Good to see you, my darling.
And it's been lovely listening to you both. And I 100% can relate to what Elena said. Always be a self-practice. And I don't know much about shamanism, but definitely this whole way of wanting to define yoga and give it meaning, it's just a journey into the self, like self with capital S. And I guess the closer you get to it, then the more you become, yes, a conduit, a channel, something that is definitely not limited by form and space and time. And I think we have been just forced to slow down and give meaning to our lives and infuse our lives with meaning and decide how we want to create our time, who we want to spend time with. And we also just realize how much we can't run away from ourselves, like to where, what and who. I mean, I still feel there's a lot of escapism in yoga, like a whole lot. Even the offer on Zoom and the Zoom classes, which is, I think, also the need to connect, but also a lot of that. But you just can't do it forever, and you can't just do it even for 15 months in a row. So yes, I have experienced beautiful things because I'm a yoga teacher, and sometimes I also mentor other teachers. And I used to be really reluctant on teaching online and like, how am I going to connect with people? I can't touch them, I can't assist them.
Yeah.
And lately I've been trying almost every class whenever there's a student just giving a task class. I mean, you feel them.
Mm-hmm.
And the way people show up for themselves and turn on the screen, and you also learn to read the energy. I think there's much more subtlety, at least for myself, in the way I practice. And I look at things and I look at people, and hopefully I hope we have been doing just the work we are meant to be doing. If we uplift ourselves, I mean, the consciousness in the collective will also rise.
Yeah.
And so we have this big thing we can't understand, we can't handle. There's a lot of uncertainty. And in the midst of it, we feel like we're doing something meaningful for ourselves. Like, how big is that? I think it's been a wonderful time. It's been a wonderful time, however challenging it has been. But on the journey of self-discovery, we've just been forced to do the work, the work.
To step
And
up.
definitely, I also feel the opposite. I also feel the opposite, the big field of fear. And it's either I ground myself and build my own mandala, or just get pulled out.
Mm.
And it's like a moment to moment. Like which Zoom webinar do I take, and who do I stay with, and which thing do I read upon waking up? I've been reading the same book for 15 months, you know. It's quite interesting.
Oh, it's
Yes.
deep, sister. Thank you so much. Oh, bless. Oh, that you brought up some incredible points. And what comes to me is the impulse. I think in a way, how it translates through me is following the impulse and the own original impulse. And I know from all the women that are mothers here, right, who have given birth and have raised children, you watch the baby, right? And I have a little great nephew right now. My niece gave birth to a little boy. I'm so in love. He's 5 months now. His name's Canaan. And we wait to see his impulse, of course, who he wants to go to. If he wants to be held, if he wants to be picked up, and he's going like this, and then he releases his energy. He just literally releases it, and he moves a little tiny bit, and you can sense it. And then you know he wants, and as you lean, then he leans, and then you pick him up. And so we've honored him. We've shown him that he gets to follow his impulse, and that will be seen and that will be honored. It's such an incredible practice. And in my practice as a healer, I'm often training people how to return to their impulse with the 1 centimeter rule, right? It's a certain practice called the 1 centimeter rule. So grandmothers like that. And being in the body and training to be in the body with yoga is returning us to our impulse, right? Our natural, innate, organic impulse. And this slowing down of society too is taking us there. Even though, like Jeannie says, it can be contentious, it can be painful to realize you're stepping over your impulse consistently, and actually training yourself back to feel your impulse again and where it may want to take you. And sometimes it's slow and we want to go faster, right? So then it's painful, and then comes resistance, and the mind goes. So what have we learned from yoga with following the impulse? And can you say something, Elena, to help our fellow humans track that part as they're when they're on the yoga mat? Because I feel like this could be something very useful.
Well, there are two things that I want to address. One is that, Jeannie, what you said about the subtlety that you're able to perceive and also feed on and also teach to on Zoom. You are not dreaming that shit up. It's real. I have had some of the deepest experiences in classes teaching on Zoom, all by myself, right back there, and connections with people during this time. So that I just wanted to sort of put a little highlighter on that and honor that, because that has definitely been my experience. The impulse inquiry is interesting because there is all of that fear that Jeannie mentioned, that field of fear. She said, every day, I literally woke up this morning in my work with my team. I don't have like a administrative team for me personally. I work with a team of women all over the world in education, let's say. And today I was moved to create this very, this is just the first draft, this very clear, precise kind of habit tracker that also includes designing one's energy for the day. But this is where the fine line between following one's impulse and designing one's energy comes into play. I personally do very well when I sit and I say, okay, today I create a feeling of, today I put presence. I have 3 priorities: to show up here with my full femininity, to create for my son a really beautiful afternoon, and to go for a long, at least an hour-long walk. 3 priorities. Awesome. Enclosed in all of that is a bunch of other work too. Check off meditation, check off what you're grateful for. What was my self-care? How did I nourish myself morning, noon, and night? Did I take my freaking vitamins? Those sorts of things. Did I move? Did I learn at the end of the day, what was my good deed or service? Reflection. What am I grateful for at the end of the day? These are things that help me, just to answer your question, Mira, to help me organize myself, so that when an impulse comes to go watch, as Jeannie was saying, go watch that particular lesson with that teacher. I have a list of the courses that I'm in on a Post-it. Okay, I'm in 4 different courses right now. If I don't have that Post-it here, I'll never do them. I just won't go. I won't do it. But if I have them here, so the precision sort of planning to the best of my ability allows me to then follow my impulse. Today, I really want to go listen to Hiro Boga. I want to talk about the environment of my business. I want to get really stone cold clear about what I'm doing going forward into the fall and winter. Cool. I know it's a little early. It's only June, but this is where my heart is telling me to go today. The plan helps me follow the impulse, and the impulse takes me to a better plan.
Okay.
Just like that.
The plan helps me follow the impulse. That could be a bumper sticker. That's a great one-liner.
Better plan.
Yes.
So cool.
So very cool. So what is this? Because we had this on our sheet, and we were thinking about coming into this, and you've just sort of laid out the ground rules there. Is this putting order in the chaos?
Most definitely. If I can, and I don't think, I'm not like that. I used to be this crazy person who was like, oh, I have to get an A plus. But what I do that I think is helpful is I have three priorities for the day, not 5, not 7, not 2, 3. And if I can figure out what those 3 priorities are, and sometimes they're energetic and sometimes they're literal. Cool. I can get there by the end of a day. 5, I'm suddenly like, I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
I'm stepping away from the vehicle. I can't fucking do this.
Step away from the vehicle. Yes, and that is bringing our, and that's another point we could weave in, that when we've got those 5, I mean, if they really have to be done and it's on your schedule, it's a different thing, but we're talking about ebb and flowing with life. When we schedule 5 too often, this is my experience, I have to bring the warrioress in. I have to bring her in.
And then you drain your cortisol.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to bring her in too often.
That's right.
It's just really when you need her to get through something. And oh, Yes, let's bring her in. I
There
love
she
her.
is. There she is, the great mother.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yes, that life balance. And that's why it was so interesting for me to connect with the yogic way and the shaman way, because this is something that is developing, I feel, on our planet right now. And it's attuned to these two different perceptions of life,
Yeah.
which go to our root, both come back to the self. Right. So the shaman way is also about working with the chaos, working with so much energy at one time, so many voices, and then aligning them through to get what the client needs or what the moment needs. And that's a deep trust. That takes deep trust. And the yogic way also needs that medicine of deep trust.
And both
Bringing it home.
only can develop with practice. Like you really can't wing it.
You can't wing it, no.
And that goes for as a student of yoga, and as Jeannie knows, as a teacher. You can't just wing it, especially over the interwebs. You have to have your own practice so that you have weather to report.
No, that's deep. Because that sort of takes us full circle. And this is one thing which it's been on my mind a lot lately, because what you're talking about is discipline.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
okay, definitely taking responsibility, but that discipline is so important right now in these times, developing that muscle of discipline.
I feel like I
Wow.
had a prompt about discipline somewhere. Maybe it's in the yellow section.
This is, can you please hold up that book and show us that lovely
Okay.
creation? This is Elena's book.
This is the
after she
first one.
went. Okay. Hold it there. Hold on a sec. Just a sec. Oh, hold on. One more second. My fingers are a bit sweaty. So there you go.
How can discipline be? It's a giant journal, all my watercolors. How can discipline be a surrender to the feminine? That's the question. That's the question right there. How is this hilarious, dorky list, habit tracker, day designer, a surrender to the feminine?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, how is it? It gives me a structure so that within that structure, I have all this space to like stretch and move and follow my impulse, as Jeannie said.
That's it.
I think so. On a more practical note, I don't know why I'm bringing this out right now. A couple of weeks ago, I had her on the podcast, and her episode just came out. This is a phenomenal book for the women in the room who are interested in creating for yourself an understanding about the world of your business. Honestly, I don't do this often. This is a great, great workbook.
Nice.
Annalise has something to say, but you have to unmute yourself. And Jeannie, if the wood is still burning in your brain, you can unmute yourself too.
I love that it was a playbook.
It's a playbook.
Yes.
This woman is a genius.
Play.
Yeah, she's 72, 73, something like this. If you listen to her episode on my podcast, you will be blown away by her power. So quiet, so powerful. Just a beautiful lady, Hiro Boga.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's
Thank you.
something in there. This is what I take on my artist dates with myself. If I'm going to go eat something, I take that book and a pen and my phone, nothing else. She gives us a way to find out what the energy is of this world, of our work, whether it's householding or an actual business. And per Mira's question, that energetic sort of refinement and definition for ourselves gives us all this space to follow impulses, to create what needs to be created, not just what we think we have to create.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There you go. Beautiful. I'm going to get that book. That's tantalizing me. Feel
It's
the impulse.
awesome. Awesome. It's from, I think she's in Canada, so it's hard to get fast. I'm not a huge fan of Amazon, obviously, but it is one way to get it. I use bookshop.org now. I have a whole, well, I'm going to put the link in the chat actually, because that's a worthwhile one to start. To
Look at
look
this. Look at this woman go. Love it. Yeah, there's a park. Oh boy, we just have a few minutes left, and I wish we had another hour because I just feel like we're starting truly to sink in and flow.
Come back to it.
Yes.
All those affiliate, I do earn affiliate fees, and all affiliate fees that I earn, they go to On the Inside, which I mentioned earlier, Girls on Fire Leaders, which is an organization that helps train. This is the best. You want an upliftment? Adolescent girls in Kenya. We've been training them for over 10 years in the poorest slums in Maitari and Kibera. And then we train them to just become leaders. We don't tell them what to do. They design what they're doing in their community. So they're now going basically door to door, teaching the parents about the ills of childhood marriage, the ills of teenage childhood pregnancy. They're changing the story, not the white women who are helping facilitate things. No.
Yeah, they're
They're coming up.
they know what they need. Yeah.
They know exactly what they need.
Yes.
And they actually use both of those books too. They have the whole stack of them. These just went there this week. Should be there this week. This is the more recent one. And they went there this week and the girls were psyched. I have one that I've sort of adopted as my child. And she teaches, she's now 16. She started with us when she was 10, and she teaches from the books to the girls. Now they're all meditating.
Yes.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I'm sure that comes to them like bam, that easily. When
They are so close.
they don't have all this stuff to get out of the way. Oh, wonderful. Thanks you so much for that share.
Yeah.
I can feel the women holding the space that they can rise. I can feel how the wonderful container you all hold for them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here with us today in the Temple of the Rising Feminine. Blessings, Elena. Wow, what an inspiration.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.